Clarity on Fire, a podcast for people who know what they don't want out of their life and career, but aren't sure what they'd rather be doing.
In a world where it's easy to exist, but hard to feel alive, we, Kristen
and Rachel,
two certified life and career coaches, are here to help you cut through the information overload, get unstuck, and focus not just on how you can have a career you're passionate about, but how to create a whole life that feels fulfilling.
So join us here, where we serve up inspiration and down-to-earth wisdom in a way that only two best friends can.
We want you to experience the relief of knowing that, yes, you're allowed to want more out of your life and career.
And no, you don't have to wander through the dark anymore. Our job is to light the fire that shows you the way. Let's go.
Hi. We want to start out by
to talk about. Well,
surprising you with the thing we're doing that we didn't tell you we were going to do.
Let's just act like it's a surprise. Instead of something I just kind of forgot to tell you about.
Not an oversight.
No, I think it's because Thanksgiving was right before and
we were recording some episodes a little early because of Thanksgiving.
And then we weren't recording an episode.
Right.
So it just came to be that we decided sort of unintentionally, we're just going to talk about it.
On the day of.
On the day of. It's just going to hit. Congrats. Here's the thing.
So, surprise, we are bringing back we called it the pandemic special back earlier in the year.
We're going to have to keep
Still
calling
don't
it that.
Love it. We have yet to find a better
We're bringing it back.
It's descriptive. And we're bringing it back for 2 weeks. Last time we had this going on for
6 or 7 weeks?
Yeah.
During the sort of height of the first
of the
wave.
lockdown when everyone was, just figuring out what to do with this crazy pandemic. And
it went very well. People loved it.
Mm-hmm. It was very helpful to a lot of people at a critical time. And the pandemic we're hitting another wave.
Strong.
It's still going strong into the holidays and frankly, moving into a new year. So we're bringing it back because we think this might be good timing for some people.
It might be comforting to have this. So what is it? Okay. So there's a few things on offer here. You can get the short course, which is our intro course. If you take the passion profile quiz, you really liked it, you want to figure out how to map out your career direction according to your passion profile. That's what this course is all about. It's normally $250, which is actually, I think, still very cheap for
the amount of content
and the amount of content you get. It's a do-it-yourself and it's self-paced. So you can do it in as little as a day. You can kind of treat it like a day-long workshop and just do it.
It would be a long day, but you could do it in a day. It's about 5+ hours of content. But there's some bonuses. There's some workbooks.
Take lunch breaks.
Just treat
it like a morning to evening workshop with a lunch break and other snack breaks.
Or you can space it out.
Either way.
At your own pace.
It's normally $250. It's literally going to be half off for the next 2 weeks. So you can get it for $125, which is insane.
Mm-hmm.
You can also, in addition to that, if you want, you can do a single coaching session, which
we don't typically do.
We don't do for anyone other than former clients. And even then we charge more than this. So you
single
can get
coaching session for $150.
$150
which is, again, cheaper than we even offer it to people who have been working with us for sometimes years.
Yes. So if you've never talked to us before and you want one single session with us, now's your chance.
Great.
And if you have done a single session or any other kind of coaching with us in the past.
If you are an old client and you want a single session, you can get it for cheaper right now.
Great. Go for it.
Or you could actually
bundle
get both in a bundle and save more money.
Yeah.
So if you bundle the short course and a single coaching session, the total is $225. You save an additional $50. You guys, the short course is typically $250. So this is, as a bundle, less than just the course, and you get a free call. This is why people loved it so much when we did it before.
Yeah.
Because it's really helpful. And we also recognize people are in some weird situations job-wise right now. Mm-hmm. We want to make things a little bit more accessible while we can. So
I had a lot of really good single sessions.
I did too.
After this. I was kind of astounded at how productive they were, because normally the reason we don't do it all the time is because there's a process to coaching. And you can't come to a single session and expect your whole life to be solved. But what's great is that the people who came to the single session were not expecting that. They wanted to work on a very particular thing.
And we ask you to think about that ahead of time if you can.
And we can prompt you to help you figure out like what to focus on to make the most of it. That's easy for us. But we got so much done in those sessions with people. It was great. So if you do it, we'll probably schedule it. I'm assuming unless you do it like today, we might schedule it before Christmas.
But most of these are going to be scheduled in January.
I assume they'll probably be scheduled mostly in January.
Which I think is good timing.
Yeah.
To be honest. I think that works well. So you can sign up now. We do, if you're going to do the bundle, we ask you to do the short course first and then have the single session. So maybe you want to spend the next few weeks working through the course and then have the session in January.
Yeah. So again, you can buy one of those or both of them for an even more cost-effective price. I don't know. I'm not doing a very good job selling this. I feel like it sells itself.
I think I do.
It's just a deal. If you like deals, why wouldn't you do this?
And it's just for 2 weeks. We're gonna. The last day is December 18th, which is a Friday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So 2 weeks from today.
So we'll keep reminding you about this in every episode leading up to December 18th, which will be, by the way, our last episode of the year. Because we're gonna take a break. We're not gonna obviously be podcasting on Christmas Day. So that'll be our last episode for a couple weeks. And we'll be right back in your feed on January 1st with a new Dear Krachel. I love the idea of starting off the year with some Dear Krachel.
First?
New Year's Day.
Is a Friday?
We're going to start your year off with Krachel, which I hope will be a good omen for what 2021 produces. It
can't be worse.
It can't be worse. I mean, knock on wood. No expectations.
No expectations.
We're going to check in on no expectations in our side chat this month. I've decided that's what we're going to do. We're going to have kind of like a year-end review and we're going to check in on how did that go?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, okay, but check out in the show notes.
We will lead you to where you can purchase any or all of these.
You can also just go to clarityonfire.com and go to work with us tab and you can pull up the Passion Profile short course.
Yeah. So you can either go to the single coaching page and add on the short course, or you can go to the short course and add on single coaching if you want to do the bundle. So you can, many options. You can't miss it.
I think you're smart enough to figure it out. If you're motivated enough to get this, you can figure it out.
You sure can. And you can also email us if you get real lost, but you shouldn't.
I think you'll be fine. I think your test, if you want it, is can you figure out how to buy it?
It's not going to be hard.
It's not going to be hard. So, okay, you got 2 weeks. Enjoy. So, okay, Dear Krachel.
Yes, we've got 3 questions today. Like usual.
Am I reading the first one?
You are reading the first one.
Well, let's just dive in. Hi there. I've been applying for jobs recently and I've gotten a few interviews, which I, of course, see as a positive thing. However, every single interview I've had has led to the same result. The hiring manager tells me it was super close between me and one other candidate, and they decided to go with the other one and not me. It almost feels worse than if they just said, we didn't think you'd be the best fit. At least then I would know it wasn't quite right and should do something differently. But they just keep saying, you did everything right. We just didn't pick you. Are they saying this just because they think it sounds more gentle than a no? If there's nothing I'm doing wrong, then how can I correct it in order to land a job? Any ideas would be appreciated. Thank you so much for all of your content. Laura.
Oh, this is so frustrating. Laura, you're right. In some ways, it'd be easier if it was just a solid no.
Well, if they just came back
we don't
said,
like you, go away.
We hate you. You are the worst fit for this job.
Like,
bye-bye.
Okay, thank you for that, right? This is like, you're so close. It's like runner-up over and over again.
I think it's also very idealistic to think that if they did tell her that, her inner critic wouldn't go nuts.
Of course, I know.
Her inner critic would be freaking out no matter what the outcome, I theorize.
It's true. And you asked, are they just saying that because it's more gentle than a no? Maybe. We'll never know, to be honest.
Think so, but
we'll never know. But even the fact that you're getting to the interview stages tells me you are doing something right. Because most people who apply for jobs don't even get to the interview stage, much less get to, multiple interviews or being told you were this close. So I want to direct you back to an episode we just did a few weeks ago in November, where we asked the question, we did a side chat about, is something not working, period? Or is it just not working yet? And that's my instinct here, is that as annoying as this is, as frustrating as it is to put energy into something and to keep trying and to get close, but not quite there, I don't think you're doing anything drastically wrong here. I think it's just not working yet.
Yeah.
And it's going to require a little bit more patience. And I trust, you don't have to believe me, Laura, but I trust that it's not working yet for a good reason.
Yeah.
That you may not understand. You may not really have wanted to work at some of those places.
The right thing just might not be totally ready for you yet, but you're getting some experience until it is. And then once it's ready, boom, there it is.
Exactly. So I get the sense it's going to be worth the wait. And it's okay to be frustrated in the meantime, because this is annoying and not fun to be that close over and over and over again. But I just think it's not working yet.
Okay. I have some additional thoughts to this. I don't know that you can assume that the hiring manager is telling you the truth, because I do believe it's very likely that they're just saying that because they think it's a nicer no, which I actually think is stupid, because I don't think it's a nicer no to make someone feel like they came so close and then they failed. Like, I don't actually think that's a kind response, but I don't think you can assume that they're always telling you the truth. I think they might just give people a canned response and everyone gets the same damn response, and it's not really that helpful. Either way, I don't think you can take their feedback when it's just that canned. It's not personal. It's not like they didn't put thought into it. They didn't say, here's what we would have liked to see. This is what we were looking for. If they're not giving you like personal specific feedback, I would just let it in one ear and right out the other.
Just don't take it super personally. I don't think any of this is personal. There's so many factors that go into hiring. You have no idea why they ended up choosing the candidate that they did. This might be someone who was an internal candidate. It might be someone who had a connection. It might be someone who maybe they're looking to add more diversity into their workforce.
Which is much needed.
Yeah. And it's like, who knows? Maybe it was a better culture fit. I don't know. And you may
maybe the other person was willing to take less money.
Yeah.
Who knows?
You probably will never know, frankly. But we have to trust that if it just keeps not working, that's got to be for a reason. This is why we compare job searching to dating all the time, because sometimes you have to go out with some people and it's like, oh my God, I'm so tired of first dates. I'm so tired of like trying to be myself and trying to make conversation, and it's just not going anywhere. And sometimes that person's just not ready for you. Sometimes it's not working. It's just not working yet.
We had an episode about that, like why job searching and dating are the same thing, back in March of this year. FYI. I'll link to that too, but just so you know. But hold on. There's something else I want to say here. I want to pick on a thread, like just like very nitty gritty, take issue with something that she said. If there's nothing I'm doing wrong, then how can I correct it in order to land a job? If you're not doing anything wrong, there's nothing to correct.
Yes.
That is a really weird, like, loop that you got yourself in.
Right.
Oh my God. So what that tells me is she believes
something different.
She really believes that she must be doing something wrong. So she doesn't believe them when they say you're not doing something wrong. She believes, no, there must be something I need to correct. I don't necessarily buy it. Like Kristen said, I don't think it's necessarily that you're doing anything wrong. I think it's that they're probably in some way being honest with you. Like, I know I just said, don't believe them, but I don't necessarily think they're lying to you. I just think they're giving you a very vague, canned response that's not helpful, and you shouldn't necessarily take it to heart one way or the other. But I don't think they're necessarily lying blatantly to your face. I do think it's probably accurate that you're not really doing anything wrong. It's just for whatever reason that you won't understand, it wasn't a fit and it's not personal, and that there is actually nothing to correct. Now, however, if you are showing up at these interviews and you are trying to be someone you're not, you might have something you need to correct. You might be doing something wrong.
That's common, frankly.
If you're trying to be impressive and you're trying to say all the right things and you're not being authentic in yourself and you're not relaxed and you're not showing up and just like shooting the shit and saying, here's who I am and here's what I value.
You're trying to tell them what they want to hear.
You might be doing something wrong. In which case, you do need to correct that, which is actually not a hard correction, because it's just go back to that episode about dating and job searching from March and really take that in, because that's so much about you can't be going into either of those situations trying to be something that you're not, because all you're going to get is either rejection, because people aren't going to want to be with someone who's not being transparent and honest and authentic, or you're going to be accepted by the people you don't even want to be accepted by. Either way, lose.
Yes.
So I don't think you have anything to correct if you are being genuine and you're going in there and you're being honest and you're asking good questions, not to be impressive. You're just asking things that you care about genuinely. And if you just keep not being hired, it's just not working yet.
Yeah, we're just asking for a little introspection. Like, how myself am I being? I know interviews are a little nerve-wracking. I'm not saying you're not going to feel a little bit nervous when you first walk in, but we're just saying don't try to sell yourself into something that you're not.
No.
It's okay to be a slightly nervous version of yourself at first as you kind of get comfortable.
Or like maybe a little more stuffy or professional than you normally be because you can't help it.
But you don't want to tell them, oh, I'm so interested in this if you don't care. Or I can't wait to grow in this company if you
aren't sure that you want to.
That's what we're talking about. We don't want you to people please them in the interview.
But like, let's not go into any job or any dating scenario and be like, oh, why won't this 7 accept me? If the universe is slamming the 7's door in your face, be grateful because that means the 9 is still on its way. The 9 or 10 is still on its way. Okay. Oh, yeah. All right.
Okay. Question 2. Dear Krachel, I'm not a fire starter, but my career goal is in an industry that doesn't have a linear career path. People tend to just fall into it. To get in, I'll have to create my own path as a consultant or expert. But can I do that without that fiery motivation to keep me going and stay on task? That is from Christian.
So Christian is not a fire starter, but
we don't know.
He's like,
I don't know.
Can I do a career in a fire starter type role if I'm not a fire starter? Can I make that work? Yeah. The answer to that is yes, but we have some caveats.
Okay, but before we get into what you can do,
Kristen wants to talk about what you can't do. Like, great, let's rain on his parade. Continue.
No, I think Christian can do anything he wants to do. But I just want to question this belief that this is the only way to get into this industry. The only reason I want to ask this, and look, I'm not questioning your understanding. I don't even know what this career industry is, so I can't comment on that.
Consultant of some kind?
I don't know.
It's very vague.
I don't know. But part of what I feel like my job is as a coach is to ask people to examine their own beliefs about things or even things that they feel they have evidence for.
That might not be fully true.
Is there any evidence to the contrary? Is anyone doing this in a way that's has a little bit more of a clearly defined path or doing it in a little bit more of a conventional career path? Can you just first see if that exists before you commit to, I have to do it this way?
Yeah, we can't just like assume you're right, that there's only one way to do it.
Because usually there's not just one way to do it.
There's like a conventional way, but then there's sometimes untraditional ways that things can be done.
I've just seen this happen with enough of my clients who are like, I can't do this because I can only do it this way and I don't want to do it that way. I'm like, really? That's the only way? And we look into it and there's typically other options. So I just want to start you off by see if you can find some counterproof. And if you can't, okay, fine. I'm not calling you a liar, Christian. I'm just poking at that belief to see if it's a limiting belief or not.
Yeah, I mean, it's just all too common that people decide that there are no other options without really having the evidence to back that up. It's just an assumption.
Exactly. So I'm not sure.
Okay.
But okay.
If we do take you for your word, though.
If we take you at your word.
If we just believe you.
If we believe that Christian is accurate, because again, I don't know what this industry is, then you're asking, can I pursue consulting or kind of creating my own path if I'm not a fire starter? Of course. Now, your path will absolutely look different and should look different than a fire starter's path. I don't know what your passion profile is, but let's say you're a thriver. If you're a thriver who wants to go this route, you might need to do it a little bit on the slow and steady path because typically thrivers are not as comfortable with big risks. Okay, well, we can do this in a lower risk way, slow, steady way. And that might still get you to the same end goal without having to be a fire starter. If you're a side hustler, we might need to add some variety into this, or you might need to combine multiple passions to get that firiness to excite you more.
It actually might get fine if he's a side hustler.
It might be fine.
If it's not a traditional linear career path, that might actually be totally great for a side hustler.
Yeah. If you're a tribe member, maybe you need to find some people who are already doing this, or maybe you need to
You just need
collaborate
a good
with some
team
people.
of some kind.
Yeah, and don't do it alone because that might not be as exciting or motivating to you. So I think any passion profile can pursue any kind of industry. They just have to pursue it differently.
The passion profiles are not meant to put you in a box. I've said it once, I've said it a million times, I'll say it again. It's not meant to prevent you from taking a course of action or to, amputate your choices in any way.
Not at all.
It's just you need to be thoughtful about what your type is so that you can pursue a path that's most likely to feel aligned and good for you. There's always a way, for the most part, to do a career in a way that aligns with your passion profile. You just have to make certain changes to it, certain tweaks. You might have to be a little bit more picky. Your timeline might be a little bit different, just depending. But generally, there's a way to make it work if you feel motivated enough. And what's funny is that you say, I know, can I do this without that fiery, Firestarter motivation? I don't know. I feel like the fact that you have this goal and that you clearly have thought it out and that you're asking this question, I don't know. It kind of tells me you do have a certain level of motivation.
The fact that you reached out and asked this question, like, I want this, but I'm afraid I can't have it, tells me, well, you want it badly enough to be trying to figure out how to do it. So we're saying if you want to figure out how, you can. And I hope knowing your passion profile or your passion profile combination will help you build a better path that makes you more motivated. Because again, if you're not a Firestarter trying to be one, yeah, of course that's going to feel off. No, we don't want anybody to try to fit into a box that's not right.
That's also just a smart question to ask before you pursue a path. This is what the Passion Profile Short Course is really all about. Thank you, Kristen, for inadvertently helping us promote our product. Okay, before I pursue something, let me figure out what alignment in that field looks like for me. Or not even in that field, just in a career sometimes. If you don't even know what field, that's fine. It's just, what does career alignment actually mean for me? How do I get really clear on what's going to be a fit, what's not going to be a fit, so that whatever I decide to do, I can do it in a way that's most likely to set me up for success and help me wake up feeling good every day.
That's what we're all about.
And not burn out, right? And enjoy my life and feel fulfilled.
Yes.
So I'm really glad you asked this question because that's what we tell anybody to do who's considering making a career move. Is first, let's get clear on what alignment looks like for you. And then how do we just tweak the circumstances if we need to make it work for you?
Exactly. So bottom line, don't use your passion profile to limit yourself. Just use it to inform the way you want to go about your goal.
Can I just make a little example here before we move on? Because we've been talking about it without much context, but I think a little context would help. So Kristen and I are Firestarter Thriver combos, which you can have a secondary profile. So I wonder if
that's
Christian
the thing we talk about in the
might have
course.
I think he might have
a little Firestarter.
Yeah, he might not be a primary Firestarter, but maybe he has some Firestarter energy. Hence why he's attracted to it in the first place, right?
Sure.
But for you and I, the way that we do our work is very much Fire Thriver oriented. We don't do it the way a traditional 100% Firestarter would do it, which is they have so much more energy. They have so much more gumption. They have so much more I'm going to start a revolution. If you and I were real Firestarters, we would have 100,000 Instagram followers.
Much bigger than it is.
We'd be making 7 figures. We could have done that. If we were both Firestarters, we'd be millionaires by now. I believe that.
I do too.
We don't care enough about making money.
The Thriver is
I just want to clock in and clock out, I want boundaries around my work. I need space. So the way that we do it is it's not as big and bold and ambitious and bossy as a traditional Firestarter might be. And you know what? I'm fine with that because that's what career alignment means to me and Kristen. So there's always a way to make it work. I have entrepreneur friends who are also tribe members, and the way they make it work is they have to have a buddy to do it with, or else solopreneurship really grates on them and drains them. So
they need collaborators, absolutely.
There's so many ways that you can make something traditionally Firestarter work, but you have to honor kind of how you're wired and be okay with the fact that you're going to do it differently than other, traditional Firestarters might be doing it, and that you get to define what success looks and feels like to you. Other people would probably be, I think, critiquing the fact that you and I could have done much more and been more ambitious and made more money and have more followers on social media and been more influencers, right?
But that's acting
But
like
I don't
being a
care.
fire starter is the right way.
Exactly. It's not.
Nothing is the right way. However you're wired is the right
That's
way
the
for
right
you.
way. So guess what? I'm killing it. I mean, I'd
Killing
like
it as a fire thriver.
I think I am pretty much killing it as a fire thriver. Of course, I think we could always be doing better and growing and evolving.
Sure.
But like
And
for
we do
my
have
definition
new
of success,
ideas.
I think I'm doing pretty well.
Mhm.
So I don't know who needs to put that in their pipe and smoke it, but go ahead.
This would also I was just thinking about this for Christian, but probably really for anyone. This would be a great thing to have a single coaching session about. Like, how can I combine my passion profile with what I'm trying to pursue in a way that makes more sense?
I mean, you start with the short course.
Maybe I'm
And
just
then you
saying
move
that
on to a
'cause
single
I
session.
want to know more about Christian's situation because I'm curious.
Oh, you're trying to sell Christian on a single session. You're not just trying to sell anyone on it. You're like,
well, sure,
Christian, hit us up.
anyone for sure. But I'm just like, I have so many more questions for Christian.
Also, I'm also sorry if Christian is not a he, his,
Yeah,
but I
It's
just kind of
typically-
made the
yeah.
assumption.
I hope we didn't.
You know,
just-
I might butcher people's pronouns. If you just FYI, if you ever want to submit a Dear Krachel and you're like, I don't want you to butcher my pronoun, just tell us what it is.
Oh yeah, you can definitely do that.
Okay.
Okay, last question. Dear Krachel, I'm struggling to tell the difference between my natural skepticism and plain old fear. As an Enneagram type 6, I have a lot of analytical, lack of trust type thoughts. But when is that me being logical and rational in a good way versus just my ego? I've always seen myself as a grounded, pragmatic person despite being spiritual. I can't stand people who say things like, just heal cancer with one Reiki session, or, oh, something bad happened to you. You brought that on yourself with those negative thoughts. I know I'm open-minded, but I feel I also know where the limit is and when things turn into scams. So at what point is this savvy discernment? And at what point is it fear wrapped in ego? This is from Kim.
This is
Really good question.
This is a very astute question.
Very deep question.
I have myriad answers to it as well. One is, okay, first of all, I appreciate people who have natural, healthy skepticism, cynicism, and discernment. They're not necessarily going to be taken for a fool. They're not going to believe you just because you opened your mouth and said something.
I think open-mindedness plus discernment is a really healthy balance.
Yeah.
Actually.
So, but I do totally understand the pattern of, because when she says ego, I think of it as kind of like the person who's a little bit righteous and holier than thou, who's like, oh no, I know better than that. Or they're really judgy and they're like shutting things down, not because it's actually not right, but because they're afraid of it. And so they judge it. That happens a lot. And so in that case, I see what she's saying. It's kind of like, how do you tell the difference between I'm actually just not going to be taken for a fool and I'm not going to believe something just because someone tells me. And then I'm shutting things down preemptively or too early because I'm actually just afraid of it and I'm kind of running away from it and using my ego, to kind of hide behind, like by judging or feeling like I'm better than something or whatever.
I think that's a really important distinction we have to make here is what you just said about judgment versus discernment, because those are different things.
Very different.
I think they get interchanged a lot, but judgment is looking at something and deciding it's wrong or right. And again, you are passing judgment on it. You're not just making a decision or having an instinct.
Assigning moral value to it.
Yeah. Good, bad,
Right,
whatever.
wrong, ugly, beautiful.
Because then you're not really making a deeper intuitive decision. You're making more of an emotional, like, that's weird. I shut it down. I have this emotional response, or I don't understand that, or that's different and scary. And you just judge it as bad. That's a different thing than discernment, which is taking in all of the information and doing a gut check and saying, where do I stand on this? I want to be open-minded, which is why I want to look at all of the facets of this, but I'm not just going to blindly agree. I want to run it through my own inner filtration system, like my intuitive filter. And there's not as much emotional volatility in discernment, whereas judgment feels very emotional, I think, very reactive.
It's based in fear. So yeah, it's going to be heightened emotions, typically when you're in your ego or you're going to be trying to suppress all emotions. Do you know what I mean? Like sometimes I think it can show up as you're trying to rationalize and you're like, no, I don't feel anything about that. But you're actually having to like do pretzels to try to get yourself not to feel something. That's still an emotional response. You're just trying to hide from it. But a lot of the time when you're in judgment and ego, you're having a very strong emotional reaction to something. You're like enraged, or you're really frustrated, or you're just like, oh my God, that person sucks. Or like you go on a rant or something. If you're just in discernment, I don't think you get triggered that heavily.
Yes, agreed. And another distinction, I feel like judgment feels kind of final. Like I have decided that is bad or wrong or weird.
For sure.
And discernment is not buying it.
For now, sure. I'm not so sure about that. But I'm
still open to more information. So when you judge something as bad, you see this all the time. I mean, this is very true in our political world right now, very true in just our very divided. We don't even want to see things that contradict our own opinions because we have judged those things as bad. Yep. When you're just being discerning, you take on each piece of new information and you consider it and add it into what you already understand and what you already think.
Your working repertoire.
And you're willing to be a little bit flexible as new information comes in. Because again, you're not emotionally attached to a particular answer. So I would ask yourself, how open am I to keep hearing more about this?
When you're discerning versus judging, you're also very, I think, calm and grounded and assured of your own identity. And when you're judging, you're usually like on shaky ground when it comes to your identity. So if you receive some information and you're discerning, it's not going to make you question who you are or your worthiness as a person. Right. So like, let's say you go on a date and someone ghosts you. If you're discerning, you're going to go, and I'm not saying you can't have a human reaction to that. You can totally be annoyed and frustrated and like upset and offended by that. That's totally okay. Sure. But if you're in discernment more than judgment, your reaction ultimately, once you maybe like get over the initial shock of it or the initial frustration of it, is going to be, wow, that reflects poorly on them. And I'm glad that happened probably because that taught me something. And okay, like, let's see how I can integrate this information and avoid people like that in the future. Like, what did that teach me? If you're judging, it's
what
an
asshole and that clearly I suck. And,
right. That's the thing. It's going to be about how much that person sucks, but then it's also going to be about how you must suck because that happened to you. When you're in discernment, you're not making anything about you. You're not making it like a commentary on your identity or your worthiness as a person, your value as a person.
Because then, of course, you get reactive and defensive and self-critical. And that's all coming from judgment, not coming from discernment. And judgment often is coming from fear. Fear of the other, fear of yourself, fear of change.
Fear of having to change some critical aspect of what you think your identity is.
So you cling on to it and judge anything different as bad.
Yeah.
That's not what discernment is. So that's why I'm saying open-mindedness plus discernment is a really, really powerful combination.
What's something you used to be judgy about that you're now discerning about?
Oh God, so many things.
I mean, I asked you because you're a good person to answer this question. I mean, I've also let go of I was very judgy too.
I mean, this is not a new one. It's just the first one that came to mind. But I was pretty judgmental about people like yelling and getting in verbal fights. Like I thought that was
confrontation.
You
were very above all that.
Very above it. And like, this is like, wow, that like you have to resort to that. And it was because I was afraid of it. I was so afraid of confrontation that in order to
avoid it, I
had to make it bad and I had to judge it. Whereas, if I'm being discerning, I might say, okay, sometimes that's just not called for and not help the situation. And sometimes that was what needed to happen to get to the breaking point and make change.
Another good point here is all or nothing thinking, right?
Yeah, exactly.
If you're in judgment or in ego, you're very much thinking in black or white, all or nothing.
All communication's bad all the time.
Discernment, you're seeing all the shades of gray. And you can't totally say, oh, that's always bad, that's always good.
Okay, so the example she gave of Reiki, right? Like, maybe your discernment is, hey, I think in some instances that can be really healing. And I think there might be some scam artists out there.
Sure.
Great.
And anyone who's promising, I think the rage might be coming from frustration that some people are buying into that and then getting scammed. And so it's like justifiable rage on behalf of other people. But you can't say, oh, that never works, or that's totally a scam, and shut the whole thing down just because some people aren't doing it right.
Yeah.
That would be judging versus discerning, which is staying open to the idea if you're attracted to it and being smart about who you hire to do it for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's another good point.
I want to link to the side chat that we did. What was it, back in August, I think? I'll link to it, about labeling emotions as either good or bad.
That's a good one for this.
Because this is very related to
You might want to add one more, which is how to get over your all or nothing thinking that we did with Amy Everhart.
Oh my God, that was like 2 years ago or something.
While back,
I'll link
but it's
to
a
that
good
one too.
Yeah, because that's
okay.
All or nothing thinking is pretty sure sign that you're probably in judgment and or fear.
Okay. We've got 4 episodes in the show notes for you to check out, and check out when the date was if you want to scroll back to those for further listening.
Okay.
I think that was helpful. I think we talked about judgment versus discernment before, but maybe not so much in depth, or not lately. I think we've talked about literally everything on this podcast multiple times, but it's so long ago that people can't remember if they've heard it or not, and I can't remember.
You're also thinking about the fact that we've blogged for like 5 years before podcasting or something.
I've talked about everything.
We have so much content. We cover literally everything.
I feel like we probably go in a circle where eventually we get back to the beginning and then we just start it over again.
Probably. But it's new to some of you.
But it's new to...
It's always evolving though, because we are learning more about it. We're having more of our own personal and client examples.
I get older
to share.
And I suppose wiser.
A little wiser, maybe.
It's like, I love that analogy of progress being going up a mountain in a circular way. And so so often you revisit the same vantage point, but you're slightly higher up. So it looks like it's the same, but when you look again, it's like, no, I'm actually at a slightly different elevation. And so I'm perceiving it differently this time.
That's at least what we're going to say is happening. I like it. And I hope that is what's happening.
I think that's what happens in life.
I think so. I like it.
Life is cyclical. That kind of happens.
Feels right.
All right.
As always, let us know what resonates from this. And we also always love to hear from our Dear Krachel listeners if they took our advice and it was helpful, or...
You mean the people who submitted the question?
Yeah, we always love to get updates.
I love an update. I love a Dear Krachel update. I can read it on the next Dear Krachel.
Yeah, we like to share it. So feel free to...
If you've ever written us a Dear Krachel, just send me an update.
We would love to hear how it's going for you. And if any of these questions or answers related to you, let us know that too. And reminder, if you want to take on the pandemic, God, can we come up with a bad?
No, it is what it is, Kristen. It's the pandemic special. And if they want to talk to either one of us,
promoting the pandemic, but we're not.
I am absolutely not promoting the pandemic. It's a special thing we're doing because the pandemic has been so awful.
Yes. So reminder, half off the short course or single sessions or bundles. And it's all cheaper than any other time.
And or it exists, which it normally doesn't.
Right.
Such as single coaching sessions.
Yes.
Yeah. If you want to have this experience with one of us one-on-one, well, here's your chance.
Here's your chance. And you've got 2 weeks to sign up for one or both of those. And I think that's all.
I don't know when we'll be back. Hold on. Is it going to be next Tuesday? It will be. It'll be Tuesday.
Back on Tuesday.
With a magic 8 ball.
We're back to a normal podcasting schedule for a couple of weeks.
For now. Okay. So we'll be back on the 8th with, I don't know, something.
All right. See you then.